Ich bin einfach nicht mehr so fit wie früher. Jumpy and Seven had finally arrived at the church, exhausted and out of breath. As their lungs struggled to catch their breath, their eyes frantically scanned the room. No sign of Ace or Lotus. You think they already went through? He reached up to wipe a palm full of sweat from his brow. Maybe. Even as he spoke, Jumpy was already on his way to the larger of the number 9 doors. He looked at the red. The display panel read vacant. He spun around and headed toward the smaller door. This red would tell him if Ace and Lotus have moved to another room. Engaged. It's occupied. That means Ace and Lotus went through here. Yeah, it seems like it. Jumpy and Seven stepped away from the door. They retreated to the center of the room and began to talk. What do we do now? Yeah. What should we do? Well, the big door is still vacant, but the two of us can't do anything with it. Yeah. First of all, our digital route is not 9. Just then, as they were pondering what to do next, there was a noise. A noise like someone hitting a thick wooden panel. Jumpy looked up, surprised. Seven followed suit, his eyes jumping around the room, looking for the source of the sound. It wasn't long before they found the altar. Or, more precisely, what was on it. The coffin. Yeah. Let's open it. How? By force. I don't think that's gonna happen. Well, you never know till you try, right? The only necessity for success is a willingness to suffer 1000 failures. Who said that? I forget. Anyway, we've gotta try. Jumpy and Seven leapt at the coffin. They grabbed hold of what purchase they could find and pulled. Damn it! See? Didn't I tell you? If you could just pull it open, why would it have something like that? Seven pointed at a keypad on the side of the coffin. Right. So unless I put in the right passcode, it's not gonna open. The noise hadn't stopped. In fact, as it continued, it had only gotten louder and more forceful. What were they supposed to do, Jumpy wondered. Was there some sort of clue somewhere? They stood there for a few moments, staring at the coffin, and then Seven spoke. Hey Jumpy, I remember you mumbling about some weird numbers over by the bathroom in the first class cabin. You got those numbers by solving the secret message Clover was holding, right? Truth had gone, or something like that. Yeah, that's right. What about it? Well, maybe that number is the passcode for this thing too. Come on, that's impossible. Those numbers were the code to unlock that safe. Yeah, but the person who set up that safe and this coffin is the same person, right? Zero set up both of these. Yeah, probably. Well, then they might have set the same passcode for both of them. That's ridiculous. Why don't you just try it? I mean, it's not like you'll make things any worse. It would just be a waste of time. There's no way they're the same number. How do you know that? You never know until you try. The only necessity for success is a willingness to suffer 1000 failures. Who said that? You. This is good. Who said that? You. Yeah. Fine. He knelt down in front of the keypad and looked at it. Perhaps because he'd repeated them so many times before, the numbers came easily to Jumpy's mind. 143833421. Quickly, he typed them in. He checked that he'd entered the right numbers, took a deep breath, and pressed the E button. It only took a moment. What? You've gotta be kidding me! There was a click. And with a heavy clunk, the lid of the coffin slid off onto the floor. Someone sat up from inside. Snake! Why? Ah, those voices. Jumpy and Seven, unless I'm mistaken. Where are the others? Are they elsewhere? Of course. There was no reason Snake would have known anything about where anyone else would be. Jumpy and Seven looked at one another. There was a great deal he needed to know, but... Ach ja. Mist, mit Clover ist jetzt was. They had to tell him something, however, so they began to talk. Snake explained to them how he came to be locked in the coffin. Apparently he'd been hit with some sort of knockout gas, and Jumpy and Seven explained what had happened to the rest of them. There was one thing, however, that neither Seven nor Jumpy could bring themselves to say. That Ace had killed Clover. They feared that if Snake knew, he might well go insane. They decided as much by a look the moment Snake had climbed out of the coffin. Snake's story explained frustratingly little. Zero's true identity was a mystery, as were his intentions. Why had Zero put Guy X in Snake's clothes? If Zero had left a note for them to say the nonary game had been played 9 years before, was there some connection? Jumpy put the question to Snake. His answer was less than illuminating. What are you talking about? I apologize, but I have no idea what you're saying. It seemed as though Snake was, perhaps not being entirely honest, but that knowledge did Jumpy and Seven little good. No matter how many times they asked, he insisted that he knew nothing. It was becoming clear that Snake wouldn't give in, and every second they spent asking him was a second wasted. The time limit was fast approaching. Snake's release from the coffin had changed nothing. They still needed to follow Ace as quickly as possible. However, they stood in silence, the overpowering atmosphere of the chapel almost stifling. Jumpy, Seven and Snake simply stood, at a loss for what they should do next. What do we do now? He glanced over at Snake's wrist. Sure enough, he could see the 2 on the bracelet on Snake's wrist. The 3 of us can't make a digital root of 9. Yeah, we'd just get 5. We're stuck here then. Oh, hey, I just remembered something. Seven began patting his pockets, as if he were checking to see if any of them held anything. What? What is it? I found something earlier. What did you find? This. He'd finally found the pocket he wanted, and his hand dove into it. Seven pulled out something round and metal. A bracelet. There was no mistaking the number glowing at them from the face like a cartoon eye. 0. Zero's bracelet? What the hell? Are you saying that 7 has the number 0 bracelet? Yeah. Where did you get that? Snake's question was innocent enough, but if he learned the truth, if he'd been able to see, he would have noticed 7 look away. Clover gave it to me. She did? Yeah. How did she come by it? Well, she found it, see? On the other side of door 1, A deck, and the captain's quarters. She asked me to hold onto it, cause it was too big and bulky for her to be lugging around. It was a lie, and Jumpy knew it. I haven't actually looked at it yet. Didn't want to disturb the crime scene, you know. Basic stuff. Well, I did borrow one thing. Alright, Jumpy. Been nice knowing ya. What? 7 plus 2 plus 0 gleich... Was? Come on, man, I'm just kidding. Ich wollte gerade sagen, Moment mal. Objection. Einspruch. So war das nicht geplant. Still, just in case. I wanna make sure the zero bracelet gets picked up by the rat. Snake, give me a hand, alright? Without waiting for a response, he started walking toward the door. Jumpy and Snake followed him, quietly. Before long, they found themselves in front of the larger of the two doors. 7 and Snake put their palms on the rat. Once they'd done that, 7 put the number 0 bracelet on the scanner panel as well. A third asterisk appeared on the screen. 7 plus 2 plus 0 gleich 9. Now they just needed to pull the lever and the door would open. Error? Huh? Why isn't it opening? Well, the third asterisk lit up, so it must have registered the 0 bracelet. Maybe it isn't actually 0. Huh? What? That bracelet may not actually produce the number 0 when scanned. That is what I'm saying. Why don't we try a few different combinations? Perhaps we can determine what number that bracelet actually contains. Jumpy nodded. They decided to use the following combination. Ja, Jumpy und 7 und das Bracelet. Jumpy plus 7 plus the mysterious bracelet. Jumpy plus 7, 5 plus 7 sind 12, 1 plus 2 gleich 3. Toll. If that combination worked, then the mysterious bracelet's number was 6. Stimmt, ja, wenn die Tür dann aufgeht. So kann man das, ja, Ausschlussverfahren halt. They scanned in the bracelets. Ja. It opened. Yes, so it would seem. 7 clearly hadn't thought the experimentation would produce anything useful and looked rather confused. Snake was, as usual, calm and smug. The door slid closed. Jumpy's forehead furrowed as he thought. That meant the number for the mysterious bracelet was 6. 5 plus 7 plus 6 gleich 18 und so weiter, ja. But how could it be 6? The display on the bracelet clearly showed a 0. Suddenly, from somewhere far beneath them, they heard the creak and groan of tearing metal. With it came the sound of water pouring into parts of the ship that had until recently been dry. Oh, man, that's not good. I guess our time's just about up, huh? At any rate, we know now that the door can be opened. Let's go. But... Snake, are you sure? Yeah, you know that only Jumpy and I can go through this way. You needn't worry. I have a solution to this problem. My last resort, but if now is not the time for last resorts, then when? Last... resort? Was hat er vor? Das ist wie bei jeder anderen Tür. Aber auch hier gibt es das Dead. Jumpy, 7 and Snake ran, full tilt, down a long straight hallway. They were headed for the stern of the ship and had no time for distractions. As they ran, 7 spoke. Gotta admit, you really surprised me there, kid. I couldn't figure out how the hell you were gonna get out of that one. How come you didn't do that right off the bat? As I told you, it was a last resort. Had I used it at the beginning of the game, I would have come under a great deal of suspicion. I imagine most people would have taken it to mean that I was zero. Once they'd convinced themselves of that, I wasn't optimistic about my chances of making out of here alive, let alone unscathed. I felt it best to play my cards close to the chest, as it were. That way, if I were in a situation where there was nothing else I could do, I'd have a little trick up my sleeve. I just take my bracelet off. Snake's plan had been simple but effective. He'd simply removed his bracelet. How? To Jumpy, it had looked as though Snake had simply crushed the bones of his hand until they were small enough to fit through the wristband. Of course, that would have been practically impossible, so how had he done it? Sein linker Arm. My brother's left arm is, it's not like a normal person's arm. It's fake. It's not a real arm. Snake had slid the bracelet off and tossed it into the coffin. With it gone, he'd had little to fear from the numbered doors. He'd walked through the door easily, without authenticating. He stepped out the other side, unscathed, and began running down the hall alongside 7 and Jumpy. They kept running for a while longer, and eventually came upon a set of stairs leading downward on the right side of the hallway. They stopped and peered down the staircase. As far as I could tell, it went all the way to the bottom deck. There didn't seem to be any floating. They nodded quickly to one another and jogged down the stairs. It took only a few minutes to make their way to the bottom deck. There was a single hallway in front of them, at the end of which was a single door. Jumpy threw it open. Inside was a massive iron gate. A plate was affixed to the top of it. It read, Incinerator. Incinerator? Oh my, that doesn't sound very pleasant. Do you see a lever near the gate perhaps? Yeah, right over here. How did you know that? Well, I'd be happy to regale you with the story. I imagine it should only take half a day or so. Ugh. Jumpy grumbled, gave Snake a dirty look, and jogged over to the lever. If you pull it, the door ought to open. Got it. He pulled the lever down.